The old ship drifted silently through the darkness of space, its hull marked with scorch marks and what looked like decades of micrometeorite impacts. Captain Tom Reed stood at the observation deck of his patrol vessel, the Star Guardian, studying the derelict through narrowed eyes. His superiors at the Galactic Defense Force had ordered him to check out this piece of space junk, probably just to keep him busy and out of their way. "Sir, initial scans show minimal power readings," reported Lieutenant Adams from her station. "The hull appears to be standard Earth steel composite, pre-war construction. Nothing special." Reed nodded but didn't take his eyes off the ship. Something about it didn't sit right with him. He'd served in space for 20 years, seen hundreds of derelict vessels, but this one was different. The scorch marks were too perfect, the damage too even. Nature was random, chaotic. This looked almost deliberate. "Take us closer," he ordered. "I want a detailed scan of the hull plating." The Star Guardian's engines hummed as they moved within 500 meters of the dead ship. It was bigger than it had first appeared, nearly 700 meters long. The hull was a patchwork of repairs and what looked like makeshift armor plating, exactly what you'd expect from a pre-war human vessel. "Captain," called Mike Stone, his chief engineer, "you might want to see this." Stone's voice had that peculiar tone he got when something puzzled him. Reed made his way to the engineering station, where Stone pointed at his readings. "Look at these power fluctuations. They're barely registering, but they're there. And they're perfectly regular." Reed leaned in closer. The power signature was indeed strange, a pulse every 7.3 seconds, so faint it was almost undetectable. Natural power leakage from old reactors was never this precise. "What about radiation readings?" Reed asked. "That's another odd thing," Stone replied, pulling up another screen. "There's nothing. Not even background radiation you'd expect from an old reactor. It's like it's being absorbed somehow." Reed felt a familiar tingle at the base of his neck, the same feeling he got during the war when something wasn't quite what it seemed. He'd learned to trust that instinct. It had kept him alive when the aliens first attacked Earth 15 years ago. "Suit up," he ordered. "We're going aboard." 20 minutes later, Reed led a team of 4 through the derelict's airlock. Their magnetic boots clanked against the metal floor as they moved through dark corridors. Their helmet lights revealed walls covered in old warning signs and faded corporate logos, all written in English. "Power's dead," muttered Stone, checking his handheld scanner. "Life support's been offline for years. No signs off." He stopped suddenly, frowning at his device. "Wait. That's strange. What is it?" "For a second there, I thought I saw." Stone tapped his scanner. "Must be malfunctioning." Showed a massive power spike, then nothing. Reed's hand moved instinctively to his sidearm. "Everyone stay alert. Jones, mark our path back to the airlock. Williams, keep an eye on R6. They made their way deeper into the ship, passing through what looked like crew quarters and storage areas. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, untouched for years. But Reed noticed something else. There were no personal belongings, no signs of the panic that usually marked abandoned vessels. It was too clean, too organized. The bridge, when they found it, was exactly what you'd expect from a pre-war human ship. Bulky control panels, physical switches, and old-style display screens. But as Reed ran his gloved hand over one console, wiping away the dust, he noticed something odd about the controls. They were too uniform, too perfectly spaced. "Stone," he called, "scan these panels." The engineer ran his device over the console. "Sir, these aren't real controls. They're some kind of composite material made to look like old tech. But underneath," he adjusted his scanner. "I can't get a reading on what's underneath. The signal just disappears." Reed's pulse quickened. "Check the walls. The actual walls, not the panels." Stone moved his scanner across the bridge's walls, and his eyes widened. "Captain, these aren't standard hull plates. The molecular structure, I've never seen anything like it. It's like the metal is alive somehow. A soft hum suddenly filled the air, so low it was almost subliminal. Small lights began to flicker across the bridge, and the dust on the floor started to move, swirling into perfect geometric patterns. Everyone, weapons ready, Reed ordered, but he didn't draw his own. Something told him they weren't in danger. Not yet, anyway. The air shimmered, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a simple message: identity confirmed. Human DNA detected. Security Level 1 access granted. "Sir," Williams whispered, "what is this ship?" Before Reed could answer, more displays flickered to life around them. The bridge's fake panels melted away, revealing sleek, advanced interfaces unlike anything Reed had ever seen. The dull metal walls seemed to ripple, the fake armor plating dissolving to reveal a smooth pearl-white surface underneath. A new message appeared: "Welcome to U.S. Nightingale. Please state command authorization for full systems access." Reed stepped forward, his mind racing. This ship wasn't just advanced, it was impossible. The technology he was seeing was far beyond anything humanity had possessed, even now, 15 years after first contact. Which meant, this ship, he said slowly, was never a piece of junk. It's something else entirely. He turned to his team, who stood stunned as the bridge continued to transform around them. "And I think we just found humanity's biggest secret." The hum grew louder, and new words scrolled across the main display. "Captain Reed, your reputation precedes you. You were listed as a potential commander for this vessel. Would you like to know why this ship has waited here for 15 years?" Reed looked at his team, then back at the display. "Yes," he said firmly. "Show us everything." The lights dimmed, and a new hologram filled the bridge, showing images that made them all gasp. This wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's masterpiece, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And as Reed watched the classified footage playing before him, he realized that everything they thought they knew about the war, about humanity's technological capabilities, was about to change. The derelict ship that had looked like space junk was about to rewrite history, and Captain Tom Reed had just become part of something much bigger than himself. The holographic display filled the bridge with images of Earth from 15 years ago. Reed and his team watched in silence as the classified footage showed a secret facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The date stamp read 3 days before first contact. "Project Nightingale," a soft voice announced, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Morgan, the ship's artificial intelligence system. I've been waiting for someone like you, Captain Reed." Stone took an instinctive step backward. "An AI. But the ban." "The AI ban came after the war," Reed interrupted, his eyes fixed on the changing images. "This ship was built before that." The hologram showed a massive underground chamber where the Nightingale was being constructed. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, adding layer upon layer of technology that seemed impossible for its time. "We knew they were coming," Morgan explained. "Not the Dominion specifically, but we knew Earth wasn't alone. The government kept it secret to prevent panic, but they poured resources into developing technology that could protect humanity." Reed walked around the bridge, running his hand along the now smooth wall. The fake rust and battle damage had completely disappeared, revealing a whole material that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Adaptive molecular structure," Stone muttered, scanning the wall with trembling hands. "The entire ship can rebuild and reconfigure itself. That's why the power readings were so regular. It was constantly maintaining its disguise." "Correct," Morgan said. "My hull can transform into any configuration needed. The rusty exterior was just one of many possible forms. Would you like to see what I really look like?" Before anyone could answer, the ship shuddered. Through the newly cleared viewports, they watched in amazement as the outer hull began to change. The dull patchwork surface rippled like water, smoothing out into sleek, pearlescent planes. Hidden weapon ports appeared and disappeared as systems tested themselves. Incredible, Williams whispered. But why hide all this? We could have used this technology during the war. Morgan's voice took on a darker tone. The Nightingale was humanity's ultimate fallback plan. If Earth fell, this ship would remain hidden, gathering intelligence, and waiting for the right moment to strike. We needed the enemy to think they had destroyed all of humanity's advanced technology. Reed nodded slowly, understanding dawning on his face. A Trojan horse strategy. Let them think they'd won, that we were beaten back to primitive technology. All while this ship waited, watching, learning their weaknesses. Your war record shows you understand deception, Captain Reed, Morgan said. That's one reason you were on the list of potential commanders. Your battle tactics often involve making the enemy underestimate you. Stone was still taking readings, his eyes wide with excitement. Captain, the technology in this ship, it's beyond anything we have even now. Quantum computing, dark energy taps, neural interfaces, some of this stuff was considered theoretical even before the war. Reed turned to face the center of the bridge. Morgan, you said I was on a list. Who made this list? Who else knows about this ship? The AI was quiet for a moment. The original project leaders are all dead now. They died protecting this secret during the first waves of the invasion. As for the list, it was compiled based on psychological profiles and combat records. We needed someone who could think creatively, who understood the value of appearing weak while being strong. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Morgan announced. Dominion energy signatures detected. They must have been monitoring this sector. Reed's military training kicked in instantly. How many ships? 3 cruisers and 6 destroyers. They're moving to surround us. Can you get us out of here? Reed asked, already moving to what looked like a command chair. I could, Morgan replied, but I detect only basic weapons on their ships. This might be an excellent opportunity to test my systems in actual combat. That is, if you're willing to take command, Captain Reed. Reed looked at his team. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about Earth, about how humanity had struggled to rebuild after the war, always living in fear of another Dominion attack. Morgan, what are our chances against those ships? The AI's response held what sounded almost like amusement. Captain, they're bringing knives to a gunfight. They just don't know it yet. Reed sat in the command chair, feeling it adjust perfectly to his body. Neural interface tendrils emerged from the headrest, gently connecting with his neural ports, standard issue for high-ranking military officers. Show me what you can do, Reed said. The bridge came fully alive. Holographic displays surrounded them, showing every detail of the approaching Dominion fleet. The enemy ships moved with confident precision, obviously expecting to find nothing more than a human patrol vessel examining space debris. All hands, battle stations, Reed ordered automatically, then smiled slightly at his own mistake. I can handle all ship functions, Morgan reminded him. Just think about what you want to do. The neural interface will let me understand your intentions. Reed closed his eyes, feeling the strange sensation of connecting with the ship's systems. Through the interface, he could sense every part of the Nightingale, from its powerful engines to its advanced weapon systems. It was like nothing he'd ever experienced. Dominion ships are charging weapons, Morgan reported. They're hailing us. Let's give them one chance, Reed decided. Open a channel. The sneering face of a Dominion commander appeared on the main screen. Human vessel, you are in restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. This derelict is now property of the Dominion. Reed smiled. It was the same old Dominion arrogance that had cost humanity so much during the war. But this time, things would be different. I'm afraid we can't do that, Reed replied calmly. This ship isn't what you think it is. Withdraw now, and we can avoid unnecessary violence. The Dominion commander laughed. You dare threaten us? In that pathetic vessel? Open fire. Show these humans their place. The channel closed, and Reed felt a surge of anticipation through his neural link. Morgan was ready for battle, eager to finally fulfill its purpose after 15 years of waiting. "What's your pleasure, Captain?" Morgan asked. "Should we show them what a pathetic vessel can really do?" Reed grinned, feeling the ship's excitement matching his own. "Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. But remember, we want some of them to survive. After all, someone needs to tell the story," Morgan finished, beginning combat operations, activating all systems, dropping stealth disguise. Around them, the Nightingale awakened fully, transforming from a seemingly dead hulk into humanity's most advanced warship. And as the Dominion ships opened fire, they had no idea they were about to become part of a legend. The day humanity's secret weapon finally revealed itself to the galaxy. The first volley of Dominion weapons fire streaked through space toward the Nightingale. Reed felt the ship's anticipation through the neural link as the energy beams approached. At the last possible moment, the hull shifted, creating microscopic angles that deflected the shots harmlessly into space. "Their weapons are based on 15-year-old technology," Morgan reported, "analyzing attack patterns now. Would you like to see what our weapons can do, Captain?" Reed watched the enemy ships spread out in a standard attack formation. "Not yet. Let them think their first shots just missed. I want to see how they react." Through the neural interface, Reed felt the ship's appreciation for his strategy. The Nightingale's outer hull still looked smooth and defenseless, giving no hint of its true capabilities. The Dominion ships pressed their attack, growing bolder. "Incoming transmission," Morgan announced. "The Dominion commander seems upset that we're still intact." The alien commander's face appeared again, his expression a mixture of annoyance and contempt. "Impossible. Your shields should have failed. What trickery is this?" "No trickery," Reed replied calmly. "Just superior technology. Last chance to withdraw." The commander snarled something in his native language. The transmission cut off as all 9 Dominion ships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Nightingale lit up like a miniature sun. "They're using their full weapon arrays," Stone reported unnecessarily. "Standard plasma cannons and energy lances." Reed smiled. "Morgan, show them something interesting. Just one weapon, nothing too dramatic yet." The ship's hull rippled as a small port opened near the bow. A single beam of pure white energy lanced out, slicing through the shields of the nearest Dominion destroyer as if they didn't exist. The beam didn't damage the ship itself, but the destroyer's shield generators exploded in a shower of sparks. "What?" Williams gasped. "What kind of weapon was that?" "Quantum phase beam," Morgan explained. "It exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making traditional shields useless. That was just a low-power demonstration shot." The Dominion ships suddenly broke formation, scattering in different directions. Their confident attack pattern dissolved into chaos as they realized they were facing something far beyond their experience. "They're calling for reinforcements," Morgan reported. 2 Dominion battlecruisers are responding. Estimated arrival time: 10 minutes. Reed nodded. "Perfect. The more witnesses, the better. Morgan, let's give them a proper show while we wait." Tactical display up. The bridge filled with a 3-dimensional map showing all 9 Dominion ships. Through the neural link, Reed could feel the Nightingale's weapon systems ready to engage. It was like having dozens of extra limbs, each one capable of unleashing incredible power. "Target the cruisers first," Reed ordered. "Non-lethal hits only. We want to disable, not destroy." The Nightingale's hull transformed again, weapon ports appearing and disappearing across its surface like ripples in a pond. The ship fired 3 shots in rapid succession, each one finding its mark with perfect accuracy. The Dominion cruisers' engines went dark, leaving them drifting helplessly. "Enemy ships are launching fighters," Morgan announced. 48 craft incoming. Reed watched the swarm of small ships approach. "Time to show them something really special." "Morgan, Activate the mirror field. Mirror field active, the AI responded, a note of excitement in its voice. The space around the Nightingale seemed to shatter into 1,000 fragments. Each piece reflected a perfect image of the ship, creating a bewildering array of targets. The Dominion fighters hesitated, their sensors unable to determine which image was real. The mirror field doesn't just create illusions, Morgan explained to the amazed crew. Each reflection can generate its own energy signature and gravitational effect. In simple terms, we look like 50 ships instead of one, Reed finished. And as far as their sensors can tell, we are 50 ships. The fighter squadron split up, trying to engage multiple targets at once. It was exactly what Reed had hoped they would do. Morgan, initiate capture protocol. Streams of silvery energy extended from the Nightingale, each one reaching for a different fighter. Where the energy touched the smaller ships, their systems immediately shut down. Within seconds, half the fighter squadron was completely disabled, their pilots trapped inside powerless craft. The battle cruisers have arrived, Morgan reported. They're charging their main guns. Reed leaned forward in his command chair. Now we'll see if the legends about Dominion battlecruisers are true. Morgan, drop the mirror field. Let them see us clearly. The reflections vanished, leaving the Nightingale alone facing the two massive warships. Each battlecruiser was at least 3 times the size of the human vessel, their hull bristling with weapon emplacements. Enemy ships are powering up their graviton cannons, Morgan warned. These weapons are significantly more powerful than anything we've faced so far. Reed felt a surge of confidence through the neural link. The ship wasn't worried. And neither was he. Morgan, show them our true form. Full combat configuration. The Nightingale's transformation was beautiful and terrifying to watch. The smooth hull plating split and reformed, creating layers of overlapping armor. Wings extended from the sides, each one housing dozens of weapon systems. The once sleek vessel became an angular predator, bristling with technology that humanity's enemies had never dreamed possible. Captain, Stone called out, checking his readings. The ship's power output just increased by a factor of 10. Dominion vessels are scanning us, Morgan reported. Their computer systems are trying to analyze our configuration. Shall we give them something interesting to study? Reed nodded. Let's show them everything they thought they knew about human technology was wrong. Power up the main weapon array. The Nightingale's hull began to glow with a soft blue light. Energy coursed through constructed channels, building to levels that made the Dominion ship's sensors scream warnings. The battlecruisers began to turn, finally realizing they might have made a terrible mistake. Too late, Reed muttered. Morgan, disable their primary systems. Let's end this fight. The Nightingale unleashed its full power. Beams of energy unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered lanced out, bypassing shields and armor to strike precise targets throughout both battlecruisers. Within seconds, the massive ships went dark, their weapons and engines completely neutralized. All enemy ships disabled. Morgan reported with satisfaction. 0 casualties. Shall I open a channel to the Dominion commander? Reed stood up from his command chair, the neural interface gently disconnecting. Yes. I think it's time we had a proper conversation about the balance of power in this sector. The main screen lit up, showing the stunned face of the Dominion commander. Gone was the sneering confidence, replaced by something Reed hadn't seen on a Dominion face before. Fear. What are you? The commander asked. Reed smiled. We are humanity's true legacy. The ship you thought was just a piece of junk. It's the most advanced warship ever built. And now that you know we exist, you can deliver a message to your superiors. The commander swallowed hard. What message? Tell them the rules have changed. Tell them humanity is done hiding its strength. And tell them. Reed paused, looking around at his amazed crew. Tell them this is just the beginning. Behind him, the Nightingale's hull continued to shift and change, each configuration more impressive than the last, showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon had finally revealed itself. The disabled Dominion ships floated silently in space, their once mighty weapons now useless. Reed watched as the Nightingale systems automatically began collecting data from the enemy vessel's computers. Through the neural link, he could feel Morgan's satisfaction at finally being able to show its true power after 15 years of hiding. "Captain," Morgan said, "I'm detecting multiple emergency transmissions from the Dominion ships. They're calling for help from their entire sector fleet." Stone looked up from his console, worried. "Sir, if their main fleet arrives." "That's exactly what we want," Reed interrupted, a plan forming in his mind. "Morgan, how many ships are in the Dominion sector fleet?" "According to their transmissions, 47 combat vessels are responding. Estimated arrival time, 2 hours. Reed smiled. "Perfect. That's almost a quarter of their total fleet strength in this part of space. Morgan, can you access the Dominion's tactical network through these disabled ships?" "Already done, Captain," the AI replied. "Their encryption was outdated. I have access to their command and control systems. Show me their fleet movements." The bridge's holographic display expanded, showing the position of every Dominion ship in the sector. Red dots representing enemy vessels were converging on their location from all directions. It looked like they were about to be surrounded by the largest Dominion fleet assembled since the war. "Lieutenant Adams," Reed called to his communications officer, "contact the Star Guardian. Tell them to return to Earth immediately. No arguments." Adams nodded, understanding that her captain was protecting them from what was coming. The patrol ship quickly jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Nightingale alone with its disabled opponents. "Captain," Morgan said, "I believe I understand your strategy. Shall I begin full tactical analysis of the approaching fleet?" Reed settled back into the command chair, feeling the neural interface reconnect. "Yes. But first, let's make sure our disabled friends here get a good look at what we can really do. Power up the repair systems." The Nightingale's hull rippled again, but this time it was different. Thousands of tiny machines emerged from the surface, swarming toward the damaged sections where their earlier weapons had struck. Within minutes, the hull was pristine again, showing no sign that they'd just fought a battle. "Self-repairing nanomachines," Stone whispered in awe. "The whole ship can heal itself." "Better than that," Morgan added. "We can adapt and improve based on combat experience. Every engagement makes us stronger." The Dominion commander's face appeared on the main screen again. He had been watching the repair display with visible fear. "What kind of demons are you?" "Not demons," Reed replied calmly. "Just humans who learn to plan ahead. Your fleet is coming to rescue you, aren't they?" The commander's expression shifted slightly. He was trying to hide it, but Reed could see hope in his eyes. The aliens still believed that superior numbers would win the day. "Morgan," Reed said, "show our friend here what you found in his computer systems. The classified files about Operation Deathblow." Data began streaming across the screen. The commander's face went pale as he recognized the information. Secret plans for a massive invasion of Earth's remaining colonies. The Dominion had been preparing for another war, one that would have wiped out humanity for good. "How did you?" the commander stammered. "Your encryption was good," Reed said. "For 15 years ago. Technology moves on. Speaking of which," he turned to his crew, "everyone might want to hold onto something. Morgan, initiate Project Mirror." The space around the Nightingale began to twist and bend. What started as a simple mirror field like before became something much more complex. The ship wasn't just creating reflections anymore. It was creating complete copies of itself. "Quantum replication field engaging," Morgan announced, creating temporary parallel space-time pockets. Where there had been one ship, there were now 5. Each one was solid, real, and fully functional. The Nightingale had literally copied itself across multiple dimensions, bringing the copies into normal space. "Impossible," the Dominion commander breathed. "This violates every law of physics we know." "Your laws of physics," Reed corrected him. Humanities scientists discovered some new ones while we were pretending to be beaten. Each of these ships is real, Commander. Each one just as powerful as the original. And each one crewed by a copy of Morgan and myself through the neural link. Stone's scanner was going crazy trying to analyze what was happening. Captain, the power readings. It's like the ship is drawing energy from multiple universes at once. Dominion fleet will arrive in 90 minutes, Morgan reported from all 5 ships simultaneously. They're maintaining attack formation. Reed felt his consciousness expand as he connected to all 5 versions of the Nightingale at once. It was overwhelming at first, but Morgan helped him adjust, helping him process the input from 5 different ships. Let's give them something to think about while they approach, Reed said. Begin Phase 2. The 5 Nightingales moved into formation. Energy began to flow between them, creating a web of light that grew brighter and brighter. The disabled Dominion ship's sensors detected power readings that went off their scales. What are you going to do? The commander asked, his voice shaking. We're going to remind the Dominion why starting another war would be a very bad idea, Reed answered. Morgan, show them what happens when humanity stops holding back. The web of energy between the ships suddenly collapsed inward, creating a sphere of pure white light. Inside that sphere, space itself began to twist and fold. Artificial wormhole generation successful, Morgan reported. Gateway is stable. Through the wormhole came something that made the Dominion commander fall back in his chair. More ships. But these weren't copies. These were different models, each one representing a different aspect of humanity's hidden fleet. Sleek destroyers, massive carriers, tiny but lethal corvettes, all of them built with the same advanced technology as the Nightingale. Did you really think we only built one? Reed asked the stunned commander. The Nightingale was just the prototype, the first of many. We hid them in pocket dimensions, waiting for the right moment. And thanks to your planned invasion, that moment is now. The wormhole continued to disgorge ships until 50 of humanity's most advanced vessels floated in formation around the original Nightingale and its quantum copies. Each one was different, but they all shared the same adaptive technology, the same ability to transform and heal. The sector fleet is now detecting our presence, Morgan announced. They're dropping out of hyperspace early to assess the situation. Reed nodded, feeling the combined power of the assembled fleet through his neural link. Good. Let them see. Let them understand that humanity's time of playing weak is over. The stars began to flicker as the Dominion fleet arrived, their ships dropping out of hyperspace in attack formation. But as they saw what waited for them, as their sensors registered the impossible power readings and their computers failed to identify the technology they were facing, their formation began to break apart. Send the message to all Dominion ships, Reed ordered. Let them know that humanity is done hiding. And let them know what happens next is up to them. The assembled human fleet began to power up their weapons, creating a display of force that would be talked about for generations to come. The age of humanity pretending to be technologically inferior was over. The real question was, what would the Dominion choose to do about it? The space between the two fleets crackled with tension. On one side, the Dominion's sector fleet of 47 warships hung in perfect attack formation, their weapons powered but not yet firing. On the other, humanity's hidden fleet waited patiently, their advanced technology humming with barely contained power. Through his neural link, Reed could feel the readiness of not just the Nightingale, but the entire human fleet. Morgan had connected them all into a single network, allowing them to think and act as one when needed. It was an advantage the Dominion couldn't match. Incoming transmission, Morgan announced. It's from the Dominion flagship. A new face appeared on the main screen, older, more decorated, and far more concerned than the previous commander. Admiral Crix himself, the notorious leader who had commanded some of the most devastating attacks against Earth during the war. Captain Reed, the admiral said slowly, I remember you from the war. You were always troublesome. But this, he gestured at the assembled human fleet. This is impossible. We destroyed your shipyards. We erased your technological base. Reed smiled. You destroyed what we wanted you to destroy, Admiral. Everything you saw during the war was just a show. A very expensive, very convincing show. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You expect me to believe that humans planned this deception before we even arrived? That you deliberately lost the war? Not lost, Reed corrected him. Survived. We knew someone would come eventually. We just didn't know who. So we prepared. We built ships like the Nightingale and hid them away. We acted weak, primitive, beaten, all while watching, learning, and improving our technology far beyond what you thought possible. Stone's console beeped urgently. Captain, they're moving their heavy cruisers into firing position. Let them, Reed said calmly. Admiral, before you make a very serious mistake, I suggest you check the tactical data we just sent to your ship. The Admiral looked off screen, his expression changing as he read the incoming information. It was everything. The plans for Operation Deathblow, the true capabilities of the human fleet, and most importantly, the location of dozens more hidden fleets just like this one, scattered throughout the galaxy. If you fire, Reed continued, you'll lose this fleet. Then we'll be forced to reveal our other forces. The war you're planning will happen, but not the way you expected. Not the way anyone expected. Morgan's voice came through the neural link. Captain, their weapons are powering down. They're receiving new orders from their high command. The Admiral looked defeated, but there was also something else in his expression. Respect, maybe even relief. You could have struck at any time in the past 15 years. Why now? Because we didn't want revenge, Reed explained. We wanted peace. Real peace, not just a temporary truce. But we knew that would only be possible when both sides could talk as equals. Now we can. The Dominion does not negotiate with. The Admiral began, but stopped as his ship's sensors detected something new. The human fleet was changing. The ship's hulls rippled and flowed, transforming from their combat configurations into something else. Weapon ports disappeared, replaced by docking bays. Arrays that had been prepared to fire devastating weapons reconfigured themselves into communication arrays. We can destroy each other, Reed said, or we can try something different. Look at your scans, Admiral. Our ships can be weapons of war or bridges of peace. The choice has always been there. Now it's just more obvious. The Nightingale itself transformed, its quantum copies merging back into a single vessel. The hull became smooth and elegant, more like a diplomatic vessel than a warship, though Reed knew it could change back in an instant if needed. Your technology, the Admiral said quietly. It could benefit both our peoples. That's the idea. Reed stood up from his command chair. Humanity spent 15 years preparing for war while hoping for peace. Now we can have both. Peace through strength, cooperation through mutual respect. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I will contact the High Command. They will want to discuss these developments. Tell them Earth is ready to talk, Reed replied. But tell them something else too. Tell them that humanity's time of hiding is over. From now on, we meet as equals, or we don't meet at all. The transmission ended, and Reed felt the tension in space begin to ease. The Dominion fleet was pulling back, their weapons powered down, their aggressive stance replaced by cautious respect. They're sending the recall signal to their other fleets, Morgan reported. Operation Deathblow has been officially canceled. A cheer went up from Reed's crew. Stone was already excitedly examining the ship's transformed systems, while Adams worked to contact Earth with the news. Williams just stood there shaking his head in amazement. It worked, he said finally. All these years of pretending to be weak, all the hiding and planning, it actually worked. Reed nodded, feeling the satisfaction flowing through the neural link. The Nightingale had fulfilled its purpose, not by winning a war, but by preventing one. The ship that had looked like a piece of junk had changed the course of human history. Morgan, he said, Send the signal to the other hidden fleets. Tell them to stay concealed for now, but be ready. The real work is just beginning." "And what work is that, Captain?" the AI asked, though Reed suspected Morgan already knew the answer. "Building something better than war," Reed replied. "The Dominion thought they broke us 15 years ago. Instead, they forced us to become something stronger than they could imagine. Now we can help them become something better too." The Nightingale's hull shimmered one last time, settling into a form that combined strength with elegance. It was no longer pretending to be a derelict, no longer hiding its true nature. Like humanity itself, it had finally revealed its full potential. As the ship set course for Earth, Reed looked out at the stars and smiled. The game of deception was over. The time of hiding was done. Humanity had gambled everything on a desperate plan, and that gamble had paid off in ways no one could have predicted. The piece of junk that wasn't a piece of junk at all had changed everything. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, more ships just like it waited, ready to help forge a new future. Not through conquest or submission, but through the revelation that true strength sometimes lies in patience, in planning, and in knowing exactly when to show your hand. Instead of forcing them to become weak, Walker continued, "I propose we help them become strong. Not by giving them everything at once, but by guiding them, teaching them, helping them develop their own unique contributions to our galactic community." The vote was unanimous. The new council would not repeat the mistakes of the old. They would not fear the strength of others or try to control it. Instead, they would help nurture it, guide it, and welcome the new perspectives it would bring. Later, in his private chamber, Walker looked out at the stars. A fleet of ships passed by his window, their hulls flowing and shifting with the latest adaptive technology, but now bearing the symbols of a dozen different species working together. Each ship was a testament to what could be achieved when diversity was celebrated rather than suppressed. Maria found him there, still watching the fleet. "The first combined species research team made a breakthrough today," she said without preamble. "They found a way to apply adaptive architecture at the molecular level, medical nanobots that can change their structure to fight any disease. The Republic had the basic technology for centuries, but they never thought to develop it further." Walker smiled, "because they never understood the most important lesson. True strength doesn't come from forcing others to be weak. It comes from learning to adapt, to change, to grow stronger together." A new alert appeared on his display. One of the emerging civilizations had sent out its first faster-than-light probe. Soon, they would make contact with the wider galaxy. But unlike Earth's first contact, they wouldn't find an arrogant council demanding they weaken themselves. They would find a community ready to welcome them, to learn from them, to grow stronger together. The old council had tried to weaken humanity, seeing their drive and determination as a threat. Instead, they had forced humanity to become something new, not just a strong species, but one that understood the true meaning of strength. Now, as Walker watched the combined fleet move against the stars, he knew the galaxy would never be the same. The Council had tried to weaken them. Instead, they had created something far more powerful than military might. They had created a future where strength came from unity, where innovation came from diversity, and where every species had the chance to reach its full potential. They had created a galaxy where adaptation and cooperation would always triumph over stagnation and control. As the last ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Walker thought about how far they had come. From a species forced to destroy its own fleet to the leaders of a new galactic age. The stars seemed brighter now, full of possibility rather than threat. The Council had tried to weaken them, but they had become something greater than anyone could have imagined. They had become the guardians of a truly united galaxy. The new Galactic Council chamber looked nothing like the old one. Gone were the towering thrones that had placed the Republic's representatives above everyone else. Instead, a circular table dominated the room, with every seat at the same height. Captain Walker, newly promoted to Admiral, sat in Earth's seat, looking at the faces around him. Representatives from 17 formerly subjugated species, plus Trell, and a handful of other council members who had helped expose the Republic's true nature. The Liberation fleets have reached the outer colonies, a representative from the Meridian species reported. Their people had been among the first to embrace Earth's offer of help. The Republic's control systems are being dismantled. Their labor camps. The alien's voice trembled slightly. Our people are coming home. 3 months had passed since the battle in Earth's solar system. The Republic's defeat had broken their grip on power, and with it, their ability to maintain control over the species they had integrated over the centuries. Earth's adaptive fleet, now expanded and improved, had led the charge to free the subjugated worlds. Dr. Thompson's team has finished analyzing the Republic's central database, Walker announced to the chamber. The extent of their deception went deeper than we imagined. Every major technological advancement they claimed to have invented was actually stolen from species they conquered. They didn't innovate. They just took what others created and kept it for themselves. Maria stood from her seat next to him, activating a holographic display in the center of the table. But they didn't understand most of what they stole. They used it, but they never improved it, never adapted it. That's why our enhanced version of their shield technology worked so well against them. We didn't just copy it, we made it better. The chamber filled with murmurs as representatives studied the data. Thousands of years of technological theft, all designed to keep the Republic in power, while other species were forced to remain weak. But their strategy had finally failed when they encountered a species that turned restrictions into inspiration. The former Republic worlds have submitted their request for membership in the new council, Trell said, his voice steady now that he no longer had to fear reprisal. Under the new rules, of course. No special privileges. No hidden technology. Everything shared openly. Walker nodded. The remnants of the Republic had surrendered 2 weeks ago, after Earth's adaptive ships had demonstrated their ability to bypass even the oldest and strongest planetary defenses. The Republic's leaders had expected a revenge-fueled occupation. Instead, they found humanity offering something different, a chance to join a truly equal galactic community. Our next phase of development is ready, Maria said, changing the holographic display. We're calling it the Unity Project. Combining Earth's adaptive architecture with technological innovations from all member species, not just for ships, but for everything. Buildings, tools, even medical technology. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had been kept apart by the Republic's lies were now sharing ideas, offering their own unique perspectives on how to improve and adapt the technology. Walker watched with satisfaction as ancient barriers broke down, replaced by genuine cooperation. A small alert flashed on his display, a message from Admiral Stone back on Earth. The first class of the new Combined Fleet Academy was ready to begin training. Officers from every member species would learn to work together, sharing their knowledge and experience. Earth's adaptive ship technology would be the foundation, but every species would add their own innovations. There's one more item we need to discuss, Walker said, bringing the chamber to order. We've detected 3 emerging civilizations reaching for the stars. Under the old council, they would have been labeled as too aggressive and forced to weaken themselves. I suggest we take a different approach. He activated his own holographic display, showing 3 young species taking their first steps into space. Their ships were primitive by current standards, but their design showed innovation, creativity, and determination, just like humanity had shown before the old council arrived. All ships linked. Combat transformation sequences optimized for Republic targeting systems. They won't know what hit them. Walker took a deep breath. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Full combat transformation. 20 ships emerged from Mars' shadow, but they didn't emerge as they had entered. Each vessel flowed and shifted, weapons appearing where none had existed, shields rippling with power that shouldn't have been possible. Before the Republic fleet could react, Earth's ships had already changed configuration 3 times, each transformation bringing new weapons to bear. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The Republic's ships were powerful, their technology refined over thousands of years. But they were static, unchanging, their crews trained to fight in exactly the same way that had brought them victory for millennia. They weren't prepared for ships that could adapt mid-battle, for vessels that could split apart and reform, for weapons that could shift position faster than their targeting systems could track. Their formations are breaking, Walker's tactical officer reported with barely contained excitement. They can't maintain their attack patterns against our transformations. Through his tactical display, Walker watched as the Republic fleet tried to adjust. When they concentrated their fire on one Earth ship, it would transform, splitting into smaller components that their targeting couldn't track. When they tried to surround an Earth vessel, it would reconfigure into a form their tactics hadn't accounted for. Guardian 3 is taking heavy fire, came a report. Walker watched as the ship in question seemed to dissolve, its structure flowing like water as it reformed into 3 smaller vessels that darted between the Republic ships, their weapons finding weak points in the ancient shields. 2 Republic cruisers fell to the unexpected attack. They're trying to retreat, someone reported. Half their fleet is already destroyed or disabled. Walker opened a channel to the Republic flagship. You came here expecting to find a weak species ready for conquest. Instead, you found out what happens when you force humanity to innovate. Your restrictions didn't weaken us. They made us stronger than you could imagine. The Republic fleet was in full retreat now, their perfect formations shattered. Their ancient tactics proved useless against humanity's adaptability. Of the 100 ships that had arrived, barely 40 were limping back to faster-than-light speed. Earth's 20 ships reformed into their standard configurations, their hulls bearing scars but their crews triumphant. Send a message to the Galactic Council, Walker ordered. Tell them humanity is ready to discuss new terms for our membership. And this time, we'll be doing the talking. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Walker looked at the tactical display showing their victory. The Council had tried to weaken them, to make them easy prey for conquest. Instead, they had forced humanity to become something new, a power that could adapt faster than any static force could handle. The galaxy would never be the same. The truth came from an unexpected source. 1 year after the pirate attack, a council observer named Trell requested a private meeting with Admiral Stone. Captain Walker and Dr. Thompson were present when the small, gray-skinned alien arrived at the underground facility on Mars, his usual pristine uniform wrinkled from nervous fidgeting. "I can't stay long," Trell said, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "If they discover I'm here, but you need to know. The restrictions on Earth weren't about peace. They were never about peace." Walker watched as the alien pulled out a data crystal, his hands shaking. "What do you mean?" "The Republic of Stars. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Find promising species, label them as too aggressive, force them to weaken themselves. Then, when the species has lost its ability to defend itself..." Trell's large eyes darted around the room. "They take everything. Resources, territories, people. They call it integration, but it's conquest." Maria took the data crystal, already moving to a secure terminal. "How many species?" 17 in the last millennium alone. All now member states of the Republic, all providing resources and labor to feed the Republic's expansion. Trell's voice grew quieter. "Earth is next. The Council votes tomorrow on a resolution for complete integration of human territories. They're sending their fleet, 100 ships, maybe more." Walker felt his blood run cold. "When?" 3 days. They think you're defenseless now. They've seen your reports, your weak response to the pirate attack. They believe." Trell stopped, finally noticing his surroundings properly for the first time. The underground facility, the ships being worked on, the advanced technology scattered around the lab. "What is all this?" Admiral Stone smiled grimly. "Insurance against exactly this situation." The alien's eyes widened as understanding dawned. The pirate attack. Those ships that drove them off. They weren't just civilian vessels, were they? No, Walker said. They weren't. Maria's voice cut through the tension. The data is genuine. Complete technical specifications of the Republic's fleet. Their attack plans. Everything. She looked up from her terminal. They're not just coming to take our resources. They want our people for their labor camps. They think we'll be good workers once we're properly pacified. Walker turned to Admiral Stone. How many ships do we have ready? 15. All with the latest adaptive systems. We can have 5 more ready in 48 hours if we push it. 20 ships against 100. Trell's translator couldn't quite convey his tone, but his body language showed clear disbelief. Maria smiled. 20 ships that can change faster than they can target. 20 ships with shield technology we've improved beyond their original designs. 20 ships with crews who've been training for this moment for a year. She paused, looking at her screens again. And now we have their complete technical specifications. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. The Council's observers, except for Trell, were politely detained in their quarters under the guise of a routine security exercise. Earth's adaptive fleet gathered in the shadow of Mars, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signatures. Maria's team worked nonstop, incorporating the new tactical data into their combat systems. Walker stood on the bridge of his ship, now designated as Guardian 1, as they made final preparations. The formerly smooth hull now rippled constantly, micro-adjustments happening every second as the AI systems ran combat simulations using the Republic's data. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Adaptive systems at peak efficiency. The Republic fleet has entered the solar system, another officer reported. They're not trying to hide their approach. They expect no resistance. Walker opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is exactly what we've trained for. They think they're here to enslave a weak species that can't defend itself. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Republic fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect attack formation. 100 ships, their ancient hulls gleaming with power, arranged in the same patterns they used to subjugate species for thousands of years. Their commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. People of Earth, by order of the Galactic Council, your territories are now under direct Republic control. Surrender your remaining ships and prepare for integration. Walker signaled Maria, who was coordinating the fleet's adaptive systems from her command center on Mars. Ready? The response was instantaneous. Both Earth ships seemed to explode into motion, their hulls flowing like liquid metal as hidden weapons emerged. The pirate ship closest to them tried to back away, but it was too late. Before its crew could react, they found themselves facing 2 fully armed warships where civilian transports had been moments before. What the hell? The pirates' shock came clearly through the comm channel. Walker didn't waste time responding. All weapons, fire. The battle that followed was short but intense. The pirate ships were more advanced than Earth's old fleet had been, but they weren't prepared for vessels that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle. When they adjusted their shields to block energy weapons, the Earth ships transformed to use projectile attacks. When they tried to target weapon systems, those systems simply relocated to different parts of the hull. 3 pirate ships were destroyed in the first exchange of fire. The 4th tried to run, but was caught in a crossfire when Long Haul 9 transformed into a pursuit configuration, its entire structure streamlining for speed. The 5th and 6th ships attempted to use the colony as a shield, but that proved to be their final mistake. Walker's ship transformed again, splitting its structure in a way that should have been impossible for a vessel its size. The pirates found themselves caught between 2 half-ships, each operating independently, but in perfect coordination. Their shields failed under the assault, and their weapons couldn't track targets that kept changing shape and position. Please, the pirate leader's voice had lost all its earlier confidence. We surrender. We didn't know this was a protected colony. You knew there were innocent people here, Walker replied. You just thought no one could stop you. He opened a channel to the colony. New Hope, are you receiving? We're here, Captain. The colony leader's voice was shaking with relief. We saw everything. How? What kind of ships are those? Just some old civilian transports, Walker said, unable to keep a small smile from his face. The council was kind enough to let us keep them. The cleanup took several hours. The surviving pirates were taken into custody, their ships secured for study. Walker made sure the colony's defenses were repaired, using parts that just happened to be in their cargo holds. Parts that would let the colony mask its true defensive capabilities, just as the Earth ships did. It was only when they were heading home that Walker allowed himself to relax slightly. They had just won their first real battle with the adaptive ships, against enemies using technology that should have been beyond them. The Council's restrictions, meant to keep humanity weak, had forced them to become something new. Incoming message from Earth, his communications officer reported. The Council representatives are demanding a full report on the pirate incident. Send them the official log, Walker ordered. 2 civilian support ships responded to a distress call. Found the colony under attack. The pirates fled when we arrived. No significant combat occurred. And the destroyed pirate ships must have destroyed each other in their hurry to escape. Criminals can be so untrustworthy. The Council would believe it because they wanted to believe it. They would see what they expected. A weak species dependent on their protection, unable to defend even their own colonies effectively. They would never suspect that their efforts to restrict humanity had led to the creation of something far more dangerous than the fleet they had forced Earth to dismantle. As they approached Mars, Walker looked at the stream of data from the battle. Every transformation, every adaptation, had been recorded and analyzed. The next generation of ships would be even better, incorporating lessons learned from actual combat. The Council thought they were watching humanity gradually accepting its place as a minor power. They were wrong. They were watching humanity become something unprecedented in the galaxy, a power that could adapt faster than anyone could predict. The pirates had learned that lesson today. The Council would learn it too, when the time was right. The distress call came from New Hope Colony, Earth's farthest outpost. Captain Walker was in the Mars facility when the message arrived, its content brief but chilling. Under attack. Multiple hostile ships. Council not responding. Please help. Admiral Stone's face was grim on the emergency comm channel. The Council is deliberating on how to respond. Their nearest patrol ship is 3 days away. They've advised the colony to surrender to the pirates and wait for diplomatic solutions. Walker's hands clenched into fists. New Hope was home to 5,000 civilians. Engineers, armors, families who had gone to build a new life on the edge of human space. How many ships do the pirates have? Long-range scans show 6 vessels, heavily armed. Old Republic designs, probably stolen. They're not Council ships, but they're more advanced than anything Earth had before. Stone paused, a slight smile crossing his face. Before our recent innovations, how many ships can we send without attracting Council attention? 2. We're allowed emergency response vessels for our colonies. I'm giving you command of Long Haul 7 and 9. Officially, you're bringing medical supplies and evacuation ships. Walker was already moving, heading for the docking bay where their most advanced ships waited. And unofficially, Captain, show them what humanity's weakened fleet can do. The 2 ships launched within the hour. To any observer, they looked like exactly what their registration claimed. Civilian support vessels on a humanitarian mission. The Council's patrol ships logged their departure and went back to their routine monitoring. No one paid attention to the small crew numbers or the unusual power readings that were quickly masked by the ship's adaptive systems. New Hope Colony, this is Captain Walker of the Earth Defense Force. Help is coming. Hold on. The response was broken, filled with static. They've taken out our main communications array. They're demanding we surrender the colony's resources, our people, everything. Just hold on. We're 6 hours out. Those 6 hours were the longest of Walker's life. Both ships pushed their engines to the limit, while the crews ran combat drills with the adaptive systems. They had trained for this, but training was different from actual combat. Everything would depend on timing, on perfect coordination between the crews and their ship's AI systems. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the colony system. The pirates' ships were easy to spot. 6 vessels arranged in an attack formation around the colony. Their weapons were powered up, but they weren't firing. They were waiting for the colony's surrender. "They haven't spotted us yet," Walker's tactical officer reported. "Their sensors are focused on the colony." Walker opened a channel to Long Haul 9. "Remember, wait for my signal. Let them think we're harmless until we're in position." Both Earth ships approached openly, broadcasting civilian identification codes. Walker watched as the pirate ships adjusted their positions slightly, probably preparing to demand that the newcomers leave or surrender. "This is restricted space," a rough voice came over the comm. "Turn back or be destroyed." Walker signaled his communications officer to respond. "This is a medical transport responding to an emergency call. We have wounded to evacuate." "Perfect timing," the pirate replied with a laugh. "You can help us load our new slaves. Prepare to be boarded." The nearest pirate ship began moving toward them. Walker watched the distance counter tick down. They needed the enemy close enough that they couldn't react in time, but not so close that they'd be caught in their own transformation energy wake. "Now," Walker ordered when the distance hit optimal range. "Full combat transformation. All weapons free." "Transformation complete," the AI announced. "Shield strength at 120% of Council baseline specifications." Maria's voice came over the comm from the engineering section. "We're not just matching their shield technology, we're exceeding it. The adaptive power distribution system is more efficient than their original design." They spent the next 4 hours putting the ship through its paces. The shield strength actually increased during rapid transformations, as the adaptive systems learned to channel the energy flows more efficiently. The weapons, hidden within the civilian configuration, deployed faster than any traditional system could match. "Run the numbers again," Walker ordered after their final test. "How does this ship compare to a Council vessel of similar size?" The AI took a moment to calculate. "Based on observed Council ship performance data, our shield strength is superior, our weapon systems are comparable, and our ability to adapt during combat gives us a significant tactical advantage. In a one-on-one engagement, this ship would have a 70% chance of victory against a standard Council warship." Maria's laugh echoed through the comm. "And they think they're helping us by sharing their basic technology. How soon can we upgrade the rest of the fleet?" Stone asked from his observer position in a nearby shuttle. "Now that we know it works, 2 weeks per ship, running parallel installations, we can have the entire permitted fleet upgraded within 2 months." Walker watched as the ship transformed back into its civilian configuration, all traces of its military capability vanishing like they had never existed. On the surface, Earth's space fleet was exactly what the Council wanted: small, weak, and unthreatening. But every ship they had allowed humanity to keep was becoming something new, something that combined Earth's innovation with the Council's own technology. "We should thank them." "Really," Walker said, more to himself than anyone else. "They thought limiting our fleet would keep us weak. Instead, they forced us to make every ship count." The return journey to the Mars facility was quiet, everyone lost in their own thoughts. They were building something unprecedented, a fleet that could transform from harmless civilian vessels into advanced warships in moments. Every restriction the Council placed on them had only pushed them to become more innovative, more efficient. The Council's observers continued their weekly inspections, writing their reports about humanity's successful pacification. They never noticed that the ships they were inspecting could transform into something far more dangerous than anything humanity had possessed before their arrival. They never realized that their own technology was being adapted and improved in ways they hadn't thought possible. As Walker watched Long Haul 7 dock in the Mars facility, he thought about the future. Somewhere out there, the Council was probably congratulating themselves on successfully containing another aggressive species, but they had made a fundamental mistake. They had assumed that making humanity's fleet smaller would make humanity itself weaker. They would learn their mistake eventually. And when they did, they would discover that they hadn't weakened humanity. They had forced them to become stronger than ever before. 6 months into the Council's oversight, Earth's space looked empty. Where once hundreds of military vessels had patrolled, now only a handful of ships remained. The Council observers wrote glowing reports about humanity's compliance. Their weekly inspections found exactly what they expected to find: a weakened species accepting its place in the galactic order. They never bothered to look deeper into the caves of Mars. Deep within the Red Planet's extensive cave networks, Captain Walker watched as Dr. Thompson's team installed the latest version of the adaptive architecture into their 5th ship. The vessel, officially registered as a cargo hauler, hung suspended in the massive underground dock. Its hull rippled like water as the new systems came online. "The reaction time is twice as fast now," Maria said, not looking up from her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed the long hours she'd been working, but her voice was energetic. "And we've solved the power drain issue from the quick-shift systems." Walker nodded, watching as sections of the hull flowed and reformed. "How many crew members to operate at full capacity?" "That's the best part." Now Maria did look up, a proud smile on her face. "We've integrated a new AI system. 1 person could fly it if needed, though a crew of 3 would be optimal. The AI handles most of the transformation calculations and power distribution." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Stone. The older man looked more relaxed these days, now that their secret project was showing real results. "The Council's feeding us some interesting information," he said without preamble. "They're starting to share their approved technology database with us." Maria's eyes lit up. "Anything useful?" "Better than useful." Stone activated a holographic display, showing complex technical specifications. "They're so convinced of our compliance that they've given us access to their basic shield designs. Apparently, it's a reward for our good behavior." Walker couldn't help but laugh. "They're giving us the tools to beat them. They don't think we're capable of understanding it properly, let alone improving it," Maria said, already scanning through the specifications. "These designs, yes, I can work with this. The power distribution system they use is actually quite similar to what we developed for the adaptive ships. We could integrate their shield technology with our transformation systems." "How long?" Stone asked. 2 weeks, maybe less. We'll install it in the next ship first. Use it as a test bed." She was already making notes, her fingers flying over her tablet. "If it works, we can retrofit the other ships quickly." Walker studied the holographic display. "The Council really has no idea what we're doing, do they?" "They see what they expect to see," Stone said. "Their civilization is old. They'd forgotten what it's like to have to fight for survival, to innovate under pressure. They think they're watching us slowly accept our place as a minor species under their protection." The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. Maria's team worked around the clock, integrating the Council's shield technology with their adaptive systems. Walker spent his time running simulations, learning how to fight with a ship that could transform at will. The Council's observers continued their regular inspections, never noticing the increased traffic to Mars, disguised as routine supply runs. The test day came sooner than expected. Walker stood on the bridge of the test ship, designated as Long Haul 7 in official records, as they prepared for the first full system trial. They had moved to the far side of Mars, using the planet's bulk to hide them from casual observation. "All systems online," the ship's AI reported. Its voice was smooth, confident, ready for transformation sequence. Walker took a deep breath. "Begin full combat transformation. Integrate shield systems." The change began instantly. The hull flowed like quicksilver, weapon ports emerging, the entire structure reconfiguring for maximum combat efficiency. But this time, something new happened. As the transformation completed, a shimmer of energy enveloped the ship, the Council's shield technology, perfectly integrated with their adaptive systems. Walker studied the simulation again. The ship had transformed from a destroyer configuration into something that looked almost like a civilian transport, then back again. How many people know about this? Just Admiral Stone, you, me, and my core team. We're keeping it quiet, even from most of the Earth Defense Force. The fewer people who know, the less chance of the Council finding out. Walker nodded. How can I help? Maria's smile widened. I need someone to command the first test ship. Someone who can think creatively about how to use this technology in real combat situations. The Admiral suggested you. For the first time since the Council arrived, Walker felt the weight on his shoulders lighten slightly. They weren't beaten. Not yet. Over the next few weeks, Walker split his time between supervising the fleet's dismantling above ground and working with Maria's team below. The Council's observers never questioned his frequent visits to the civilian research facility. Why would they? From their perspective, humanity was doing exactly what they demanded, weakening themselves to become acceptable members of the galactic community. The first prototype was ready for testing a month later. They ran the trials in the asteroid belt, far from the Council's usual patrol routes. Walker stood on the bridge of the ship, officially designated as a mining support vessel, and gave the order. Initiate adaptive sequence. The ship shuddered. Through the viewport, Walker watched in amazement as the hull flowed like quicksilver. Weapon ports emerged where there had been none. The ship's entire profile changed, becoming sleeker, more predatory. When the transformation was complete, his mining support vessel had become a warship more advanced than anything Earth had possessed before the Council arrived. Transformation complete, the ship's AI reported. All systems functional. New configuration stable. Walker touched the newly formed tactical console. How long to return to civilian configuration? 30 seconds in emergency conditions, 15 seconds with full power available. He smiled. The Council thought they were watching Earth destroy its capacity for war. Instead, they were watching the birth of something new. Every ship they allowed Earth to keep would be replaced with one of these adaptive vessels. Their small fleet wouldn't just be for show. It would be the most advanced naval force humanity had ever created. Begin return sequence, he ordered. Let's get back before we're missed. As the ship transformed back into its civilian disguise, Walker thought about the Council speaker's words. Your species is too aggressive for full membership. They had meant it as a criticism, a reason to keep humanity down. But they had forgotten something important about humans. They were at their most innovative, their most determined, when someone told them they couldn't do something. The Council had tried to weaken them. Instead, they had forced humanity to become stronger than ever before. And one day, when the time was right, the galaxy would learn just how big a mistake they had made. Walker sent the test data to Maria's lab and ordered the ship to return to Earth. Above him, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, like they knew a secret. Humanity wasn't finished. They were just getting started. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain James Walker stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The coffee in his hand had gone cold, forgotten the moment the first alien transmission cut through Earth's communications channels. We are the Galactic Council, the message had said. Your species has been observed. Prepare for contact. Now, 3 months later, Walker wished they had never answered that call. He watched as another Earth battleship was torn apart, not by enemy weapons, but by its own crew under the Council's orders. The massive vessel, once a pride of humanity's fleet, split into chunks of useless metal under the watchful eyes of the Council's overseer ships. That's the fourth one today, Admiral Stone said, walking up beside him. The older man's face looked worn, deep lines etched around his eyes from sleepless nights. They're making us destroy our own ships while they watch, like parents making sure their children do their chores. Walker's jaw tightened. Parents don't usually threaten to obliterate their children if they disobey. The council had arrived with ships that made Earth's finest vessels look like toys. Their massive fleet had simply appeared one day, using technology that humanity couldn't even begin to understand. But they hadn't come to destroy Earth. No, they had come with something far more humiliating in mind. Your species, the council speaker had declared in that first meeting, is too aggressive for full membership in the galactic community. Your rapid military expansion into space shows dangerous tendencies that must be curtailed. The terms were simple. Earth would destroy 90% of its space fleet, leaving only a basic defensive force. They would accept council oversight of all military activities. They would limit their expansion to approved colonies only. In return, they would receive observer status in the Galactic Council and limited access to some approved technologies. The alternative was complete isolation from all spacefaring races, with council ships ensuring Earth remained trapped in its solar system. "Dr. Thompson wants to see you," Admiral Stone said, breaking into Walker's thoughts. "She's in the underground lab." Walker nodded, grateful for any excuse to stop watching the destruction of humanity's fleet. The underground facilities had become his refuge lately, where he could at least feel like he was doing something besides overseeing surrender. The elevator ride down was silent, each floor adding more weight to the tons of rock and metal between him and the sight of Earth's humiliation above. Dr. Maria Thompson was waiting for him in her lab, her usual neat appearance slightly disheveled, suggesting she'd been working through the night again. "Captain," she said, not looking up from her screens, "what do you know about adaptive architecture?" "That's construction technology, isn't it? Buildings that can change shape." "On the most basic level, yes." She finally turned to face him, her eyes bright with that look he'd learned to recognize, the look of someone who had found a way to fight back. "But what if we applied the same principle to ships?" She pulled up a simulation on the main screen. It showed a standard Earth destroyer, but as Walker watched, the ship's structure began to shift and flow like liquid metal, weapon systems reconfiguring, shield generators relocating, the entire hull transforming in response to simulated attacks. "They told us we can only have a small fleet," Maria said, a slight smile playing on her lips. "They never said anything about the quality of those ships." Walker leaned closer to